called the right people. You know, was, and I think I've found that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Serge.
Thank you. Like he said, it's last presentation of the day. So I tried to make it less heavy, and then so that people don't fall asleep. I tend to do that. I mean, I'm ADD, so for me, like, I'm already fidgeting. But this is, at the end of the day, it's quite an important topic. So I'll run you through the progression on how we got to become CrowdStrike, okay? And why. Because that's the why is the most important thing. Most of you have some sort of endpoint protection. Most of you are in the security space, I presume. Who's been less than a year? You, okay? 1 to 5 years? Okay. More than 5 years? Okay, so we have a little bit of everything. Perfect. So, don't have that many slides, and I did it on purpose so at least we can have a conversation. Because I figure with some of you here, some of you have heard about EDR, endpoint detection and remediation, and some people have no clue what it is. So we're all over the place. And then we've been fielding questions for the last few days here. So I'm here to have a discussion with you to make sure that you understand what it is and how we can help you within your network. The biggest challenge that we've seen, if I can summarize it before we start, is the fact that a lot of people tell us that we made some massive investment in our endpoint protection, but we're still having issues. And some of the issues, like we can't see everything or almost sometimes anything. And then the biggest challenge that we have is too many agents on the machine that slow down the machines. Okay? And then finally, the third piece is the updates that I have to do on a daily basis are getting bigger and bigger. So I remember when I started way back when on the endpoint, you know, the update were like 4 or 5 megs and we would complain at the time. Now the updates sometimes are between 2 to 300 megs a day. And those are big, so that slowed down some. What I'm going to show you is a completely paradigm, is how you can readjust and think in a different space. So this is our CEO, George Kurtz. He's been in the security business for 25 years. He's the former CTO of McAfee. And the reason why I put that in there because it's important. Okay? He started the company in 2011. Okay? I've known George, well, since the 90s. Okay? And we kept in touch, and then he asked me to come and join in to build Canada for him. But I remember when I was with him at McAfee at the time. Okay? And then he went back to the board and says, this is not working. This is too big. EPO is very big and it's taking too much time. We need to do something different. And then the board asked him, like, okay, how much would it cost to change the architecture? And then he says, like, you know what, here's all the plan, here's the business case. I need $30 million to rebuild the architecture. And then they told him, go fly the kite in a nice way. So he decided to leave McAfee and he created CrowdStrike. Now, we've been in business since 2011. A lot of progress, a lot of changes. But he learned from what McAfee had done in the past to build this new platform. Okay. So, when you look at this, you know, we were heading for a disaster. And we still have a disaster. Because at the end of the day, when you look at this, we still are facing the exact same challenges. We still have large network, and the network is getting bigger. We're still buying a ton of firewalls and everything else, but we're still not blocking everything. The threat have changed, because the threat has a lot of APT and everything else, but we're starting to see a lot more of attack that are non-malware based, and no one can see them. So that's by itself is one of the big challenges. So for us, the storm is coming, and how do we change that landscape? What do we need to do? Signatures. I mean, I talked about that just before I started. So like, you know, the signature, that is outdated. We can continue relying on signature, because the signature means that I know what is coming from, I know how to build a signature. But how do you deal with day zero attack? How do you deal with attack that are based in memory, that fileless? When can you see all of those? If you have any comment on those, please let me know, because that's to us what we were seeing first, and then we feel that people were feeling first also. Next one is my favorite. Now, some of you are too young to remember this, but some of other of you like know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, like, hey, I can help you. But remember, stuck in the 90s is to me like, you know, you guys bought something at the time, and at the time, you know what, in the 90s, that was what it is. It was the best of breed. But the technology has not evolved. It's time to move on. It's time to do something different. Okay? Because crimes still pay. I was reading the Wall Street Journal this morning, and a big article, and the number was extravagant. So like somebody stole, and they were not sure who it was and how they did it and where it came from, but they stole about $1 billion worth of cryptocurrency. $1 billion worth of crypto, simply because people have no visibility into the network. So that by itself is another big challenge. What do we need to do, and how do we deal with this? Okay. The problem is also too easy to hack. Just put it by itself. Should be there. Okay. I'm joking about using the Amazon logo, and I can use it because Amazon is a big customer of ours, and we're a big customer of them. So, but I've never showed them this slide. So, camera, don't show that slide. But joking aside, I mean, like, you know, it's almost at the point where, you know, they have any hacker, any kids in school can go out on the internet and find a tool to hack, and it has become so easy. Okay? So how do we protect ourselves? Okay? I mean, like, you know, Alexia launched a DDoS attack. I love that one. It's my favorite. But this is as simple as it is. And when you look at this, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you on that side of the room, and the guys on the other side of the room, you know, it's not fair to you, okay? Because you don't have the tools, or sometimes you don't have the budget to get the right tools. Or more importantly, like, you know, every year you go back and say, hey, I need a new shiny toy, and then management said, like, I just got you X amount of dollars to do this, and now you tell me you want something. What do we do? Okay. So Captain America there is in trouble. So when I look at the breach proliferation, to me it's three things. You know, the attacks are getting more and more sophisticated. You know, we've conducted so many incident response this year, last year, and the previous year, that we're starting to see people hiding in your network for over 300 days, and slowly understand where everything is, and collecting the information and then exfiltrating it later on. We did an IR like about 3 months ago. And actually, it was interesting. The customer used another firm to do the IR, and then they thought they could clean it up, and you know, by recycling the machine, rebooting the machine, and all that stuff. And then a month later, they got popped again, and they got popped. They got popped like 5 or 6 times in a row. And then they called us and said, like, we just don't understand. We closed all the ports. We changed all the firewall rules. We did this. We did that. We did everything. So we said, let's see what's really going on. So we were in there, and we were in there for about 2 weeks. And what was interesting is they were attacked, but not one nation state, but 6 different nation states. So there were 6 different group of people snooping in their network, and they couldn't find it. No wonder why they could just irradiate the problem. So the challenge is, like, who's inside your network already? what don't you know about your network? And that's the biggest challenge. You know, the automotive defense, same thing. I mean, you know, you've been doing the same thing over and over, and it's not your fault, but this is what you have at hand, and the technology that has been provided to you. So how do we change? How do we update and modify this? And then more importantly, the solutions are more complex. And that's simply because your network are getting much more complex. You're starting to have more applications in the cloud. You're having more people that are demanding to work from home. You have people working, traveling all the time. So your network has extended way beyond what it really used to be. And now you have that struggle. Okay? So what do we have to do? Okay. How do we detect the unknown? How do we detect the unseen attack? That for us is at the end of the day where we come into place. Okay? Because it's not just about, you know, the ATP and all the different malware. This you can, you know, with your community and your peers, you can talk about, hey, have you seen this IOC? Have you seen that one? And have you seen this one? But we're at the point where you see, like, I've never seen this in my network. I have no idea what it is. I don't know where it's coming from. This is where this becomes very critical. Okay? This is where, you know, we come into place. And then when we say, like, you know what, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. People probably don't remember that movie, but it's one of my favorite movies. So in the end, what do we have to do? To us, it was kind of mission impossible. People say, like, you couldn't do what? Move protection to the cloud? You crazy? That's not done. Okay? But in order for us to be able to leverage ML, machine learning, or AI, or be able to address tons of data, we're talking about petabyte of data, we couldn't do on-site with one server or two servers. We had to leverage the power of the cloud, okay, to go up to like 20,000 or 40 or 50,000 machines to be able to do all that data analytics. Okay. So that's where, you know, when you're talking about ML and AI, this is where now, like, you know, we ingest, so you'll see this later on, but we're ingesting about 1 trillion event per week. 1 trillion event per week. That's over 200 billion events per second, or per day, sorry. But that's a huge amount of data that we ingested. So we built a bunch of databases internally that over like 10 petabyte that allows us to see now, you know, construct all that information about the different type of IOC, incident of compromise, but also what we call IOA, incident of attack. Okay? And the big difference is between incident of attack, which is one of our terms, and incident of compromise, IOCs, is that compromise, you've been compromised, IOC, okay? And incident of attack, you've been attacked. So we are one step before the compromise. So we start doing the prevention of that, okay? So how do we do this? Okay. You know, this is what the NIST were telling us. It's too big, it's too expensive, too much time, too much effort. This is what the board, the McAfee board told us, by the way. Okay, it's too complex, not too much trust. Okay? But at the end of the day, okay, I still have to protect my endpoints, my devices, without compromising the work. When I go see some of my clients, their biggest challenge is a Serge. If I turn my machine on now, I still have time to go make myself a new cup of coffee, come back, and my machine is still running. And this is now even with Windows 10 with the new machine. So I don't know if some of you are experiencing this, but what we find is that it's also, you know, we work also a lot with gaming company where the response time of the machine has to be the fastest. So what we've seen is that a lot of the time they try to disable the security because it's taking too much bandwidth. Okay? It's taking too much CPU, it's still taking too much space. So this is like, you know what, like the traditional stuff with so many agents on my machine, I'm losing like 10% or sometimes like 20% of my CPU usage. So with our stuff, you have less than 1% CPU usage. So we want to give you the best endpoint protection with the least amount of complexity, with the least amount of killing your productivity, and the ability to see everything in real time. We have one of the things that is important to our CTO, which was also an ex-McAfee person, is, it's the 1-10-60. What does 1-10-60 mean? 1-10 is basically you have 1 minute to be able to detect what's going on your network. 1 minute. I don't know if anybody's capable of doing that. Okay. 1 minute. 10 minutes to contain it, to know where it's coming from and what it's doing, and then 60 minutes to remediate. Because we find statistically that if you don't do that within about 220 minutes, they're proliferating across your network like wildfire. Okay? So talking about ransomware, talking about different type of malware, if you don't contain it right away, you're toast. Okay? So 1-10-60, that's our goal, that's what we've been doing. Okay? But it starts with changing to get people to change. Okay? A lot of people say like, you know what, just the old thing like, I use IBM and no one don't fight for using IBM. This got to change. Okay? This is it's getting old, and we need to figure out what's the best that I can do for my company. We need to be able to reinvest in IT, we need to be able to reinvest in technology, we need to be able to reinvest in people. Because one of the things that we do a lot is training our people. And then one of the things that we find the hardest is finding the right security people on the market. That's the hardest thing. So, your job is getting very complicated. Your SOC team is getting tired. We've seen a lot of churn in people that have SOC. And this is a way to help them simplify their job and then help them to transform and then simplify their access. Okay. So cyber, lesson learned. It was interesting, I was just speaking with somebody from the BC Gov, and he was asking me a very pointed question, can you do this, can you do that? And I said to him, yes, yes, no, maybe, yes. But the one important thing that I said to him is like, how many events can you collect today? Or how many events can you track or are important to you? He says, well, in fact, I'm collecting about 4 or 5 events, but that's not enough. And those 10 extra events are critical for me to be able to do my job, to be able to see what I want to see. Okay? And I said, what if I can give you between 450 events to 500 events per day that we collect? Okay? And it's like, no, it's impossible. Then there's no other vendor that does that. So we collect between 450 to 500 events. Okay? The beauty of that is that anything that is happening on your machine, and this is part of the architecture that we do. So we have one single agent, okay? And it's all pushed through the cloud. So we don't make any quantities out of this, but the beauty of it is that you don't require any infrastructure on your network. Everything is done in the cloud for you, for that part. Okay? The only thing that you have to do is deploy that single agent, and then the rest between the crowdsourcing that we do and the cloud and the AI and then the graph database that I'll talk in a second, that's the magic. That's the whole thing. Okay? So imagine one single agent, I can replace multiple agents and simplify what you see. But the most important thing is I give you real-time visibility on everything that you have going on to your network. Now, the other thing that is quite important here is that I now have also the ability to expose my APIs. What does it mean for you? Okay. And remember, the concept is like, how do I keep my machine lighter on agent? So imagine if now I can give you So like you want to do DLP, you want to do user behavior analysis, you want to do, I don't know, whatever whatever it is, you know, HDLP or personal firewall, whatever you want to do. But imagine if I can say, you know what information do you require to do this? Because don't install another agent. Tell me what event you want, and I can pass it on to you. That's the level of sophistication that I can take you. Okay? So for you, is it keeping your machine clean, keeping your machine simplified, and I push you any event that you want, because I've already collected it. And guess what? If you do DLP, they're going to ask you, I want to put an agent just to do the following things. If I want to do personal firewall, I need another agent to do those 5 functionalities. Well, I've captured all of that. Here, use it. Okay? That's where this becomes like really powerful. Okay. Now, next one. Perfect. So I talked a little bit about threat graph. One other thing that we do, and threat graph is probably the secret sauce for us. Okay, so it's all ML and AI based, but the beauty of it is this number, 1 trillion event per week. Okay? And the next one is 4.75 million decision per second. What does it mean to you? Okay. Is that because I collect all that information and I put everything in the cloud, and then the cloud gives me all that back information, I now have the ability to block 4.75 million events per second. And I pass that back down to you. Okay. So then now you don't have to worry about those events trying to attack your network because I've already blocked them. So I try to simplify your work, not to make it redundant, because you still have a lot more work to do, but the beauty of it is that I make so many decisions on your behalf already that you can focus on something else. You can focus on patching. You can focus on privileged access management. You can focus on multiple different things, but now that triage that you have to do at the SOC level, something like that, you don't have to worry about it because I took care of that for you. Okay. And the policy get updated automatically into our tool right away. So that's where it's becoming interesting. The other thing that is critical is that number, 109 adversaries. So those are nation states. We track about 109 different countries, different groups. It could be activism, it could be anything like that, but now they hide between each others. But what we're starting to see a lot more is nation states. We know who they are. We know how they bring in the attacks. We know this, using the signatures, it's not the best word, but we know how they approach an attack and what they do. We have people in a lot of different countries that speak their language, that understand the sentiments, and know how they behave. So we follow that. So this is also another thing that we do a lot, threat intelligence. And then we have a lot of customers that have SIMs. So I don't know if any of you have a SIM in your office already, but we augment the SIM with the content from our threat intelligence. And that's pretty big. Any questions so far? Okay. People wants to go home. That's good. This goes back to the threat graph. You'll see a little bit more after this. But the idea is, you know, when you use ML and AI, it's just the funnel. You know, like it's like, who's going to look at the very small? No one has the time to look at the very small. And who's going to look at the, because most of the time you look at the very big. So for us, it's like, if it's an unknown, I've never seen it, then I need to analyze it. I need to look at it and get into more details. And that's what we do. But it's analyzing the data. And this is done with ML and AI, but also with people. Okay? And then decide on how many actionable items that they have to do. Or for example, when we do some threat hunting, it's like telling you, hey, something is happening on your network. I've never seen it before. So it could be a drive-by, So somebody's trying, a kid is trying to do something, or it could be more dangerous. It's for something very unique that was designed just for your network, and it's a nation state, so we need to look at it a little bit deeper. Okay? The beauty of it is that last year we prevented 25,000 breaches. So we see a lot of information, and we try to protect. And then the thing when we look at the breaches is more than 3/4 of those attacks were fileless, and they were non-malware based. That's the scary part, is that the attacker are getting so much more sophisticated that they find a way to get into your network via a portal was open, so nothing, they use some, and then they just, like the salmon, swimming in current, and then find their way up, and then they're able to sit and listen to everything that's going on to your network. Okay. So that's, I'm going to go all this slide here. There we go. So basically that's what we do. So we have an agent that sits on your machine. It looks at everything that's going on. It looks at the information. But the beauty of it is that this particular agent sends every command. And remember what I said, like when I said install the agent, we install the agent at the kernel level. Okay? So when we install it at the kernel level, I see every command that you type, or that has been, not data, but more that every command that has been executed from your machine or from the server. Okay. And then that's where I make the decision to say, like, you know what? Is this a remote login? Is this somebody that did a PowerShell? Because we see a lot of attack to PowerShell. But PowerShell is one of the favorite sysadmin tool, which they have to use. But if somebody uses a PowerShell and suddenly, they go to the left and say, like, you know what? Let me do this, and then suddenly they do an LSAS, or they try to copy all the password. At that point, timeout. You know exactly that is wrong. But if you try to do this with a traditional tool, you would never see somebody using a PowerShell. You would never see somebody trying to copy all the user password or the username and everything else. You never had a chance to look at that. Okay? With us, because we see everything, at that point, at that moment when somebody is executing something or do like a script download, I can block it right there and there. Okay? Or I can decide, you know what, let me see who's this guy coming from and where he's trying to send the information, and block the support. Okay? Or put this machine, contain this machine, put somewhere else, so that nothing can be exited from that machine. That is critical. The ability to see everything in real time that's going on in your machine, that's the next step. That's where this would help you. So, the threat hunting, this slide speaks for itself. For us, it is who did what, when, and where on your network. Who's trying to do what, when, and where? Who's knocking on your door, and for what purpose? Do you know it? Or is it somebody internally that is kernel employees, or somebody that knew, or maybe doesn't know how to use the tool, did something silly and left the port open? That's the type of level where we can take you next and to understand. But more importantly, this one. Okay? Sometimes the attacker comes in and take somebody else, log on, and then become somebody else, so they can hide. I tag everything that you do. So if somebody is in there for 3 months or longer, and then they've been very slow, very methodological about their approach, it's like today I'm doing this, they're very silent, very quiet, and tomorrow they do something else. Remember what I said, like every command that you're launching from one particular machine, I know what you're doing. So I tag it. Okay? And if you do another command, even a month or a week later or 3 weeks later, I associated that command with the first command. And I put the piece together. Until the point where I say, like, you know what? so far so good, he's in good shape, but now when I see the chain of command, I know like, hey, hold on, this is not good. And at that point, I will have to warn somebody to block it. So it's the idea of tracking down every single users and every single step along multiple things. That's where this gives the big difference. So this is the platform. The beauty of it is I can enhance your security posture. I can enhance your ability to discover your network and the visibility into your network. More importantly, I can help you mitigate the risk between ops, between the NOC if you have one, between I think with the ops is the most important thing, because sometimes ops are like, don't touch my network. I don't want you to disturb me. Okay? But this is where we come in place and say, like, we can gel everything all together. I talk about the single agent, and I talk a lot about that one. But the idea is to me, it's the force multiplier. It's how can I help you with everything else you're trying to do within your network, because that's where you see the visibility. Okay? It's where now, like, because some of the challenge that we've seen in a lot of the attack is, you could have just about every tool in place. Okay? But what people are exploiting is the gap between the tool and the hands-off between the different groups. Who does what in your network and who can see what. Okay? So that's where we see the gap. And now this is a place where now, because I see everything, I can warn everybody around you. It's like, hey, let's come together as a team to make sure that we are protected. Now, we also follow the MITRE attack framework. Somebody likes to call it the kill chain. So this is different things where it goes from 1 to 11 with the different steps. I don't know if you can see from the back because it's in red, but discovery, credential access, privileged access management, exfiltration, command and control. How do you deal with all of this? So you probably have so many different tools to take care of that, and that's we want to bring a new idea, a new concept is defense in breadth, not defense in depth anymore. That was the 90s or the early 2000s, but now in the 21st century, it's the breadth. It's like, how much can I see? How much can I do? Okay? And this is where even in our approach, okay, we've adopted the MITRE framework to be able to discover the attack and give you the chain of command on what one needs to do. Okay, so at the end of the day, you can have between our Prevent, which is a next-gen AV, inside our ADR, and then the Falcon Overwatch, which is another tool for the threat hunting. I can mitigate all your risk. And then I can feed into your DLP, I can feed into your SIM, I can feed into your IPS, I can feed into your firewalls. There's a lot of other things I can do there. It's that breadth of security that can allow you to go very wide and very deep into the network. And with that, I'm bringing it to my last slide. What I'm showing you on this one here is our threat graph. It's really hard to see from well, I can't see this with your glasses, but I'm sure, I don't know if you guys can see it. The beauty is, if you look at here, is what I was talking to you at the beginning, like the graph, threat graph, is what an attack would look like. Okay? So somebody in here launch Explorer. In itself, it's benign. We all do that all day long. But then suddenly, here they send, I can't even see. a PowerShell, and then from the PowerShell, they do like another attack, and then they go lateral and everything. So they do the recon by doing an IP config, by doing who am I, who's there, all the different type of command. And then it's like, well, why is somebody by launching Explorer and then suddenly launching Excel will suddenly do who am I and IP config and everything else? That makes no sense. Okay? But it's at this point here when you start seeing the red, then you say, hey, now I need to block this person. If you need more information, I think this has been recorded. If you want to see more about how Falcon works for ops, let us know. I mean, we have so much information that I could need more time to show you. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
A couple. One quick one that we will just. So what OSs you support, and the second one is if you siphon all that information into the cloud, that actually can become a weak point.
Good point. Okay. So the first one, Mac, PC, and Linux. All three covers from Windows 7 to the latest. I think we can still do XP, but from Windows 7 and up, we do that. So I don't care what machine, and then also any VDI in a virtual machine. So if you use Citrix, or if you use VMware, we don't really care. Okay. Your question about the cloud. That's what we've been fighting for a long time. Okay. That's what people that when we started this, like, oh, there's no way I can trust the cloud. Totally understood, totally agree with you. But we've built so much redundancy, so much protection around how the data that we collect, the event that we collect, that when they come to our cloud, there's so much anonymized. Is that the right word? I mean, anonymized, that you don't know who that belongs to, and there's a lot of encryption built in. That even if somebody would break into it, it would be useless to them because they don't have the rest of the information behind. Okay? We've got government using it. We've got some of the largest bank in the world, largest insurance, telcos, retailer, hospital. The other question that people ask us, what about PII? We don't call it any PII, we just call it metadata. Okay. And I have, I don't know how many thousands of customers that we're doing this for them all the time. The other thing that we also do, if you decide, we can collect the information just to do the analysis, but then erase it right away, depending on what you want. Or what we also do, we say like, we have a data replicator that we can send whatever information that we collected into your own data lake, so you can keep it forever. And then you can add your own analysis. So we have some agencies that say like, you know what, collect, analyze, give me the result, and let me do the rest. Because they don't want us to do more than that. Yes, sir.
You guys participate in any threat alliance?
What do you mean?
Threat alliance from cyber landscape. Symantec, 48 Volt, Sure.
They don't want to play with us. But we do participate in a lot of open and public testing. So we've been tested constantly. We do pass information. For example, like we have one of the things that we also do, we have a sandboxing tool that when we detect something, we can detonate it, look at the IOC or the IOA, and then build a Yara rule and send it back to the different firewalls. Say, hey, now that we know what it is, go block that port, and it's totally automated. In terms of sharing information, we work with some large government agencies that rely on our threat intelligence to enhance their visibility also. But in terms of the Palo Alto or something, no, we don't want to do it. Anybody else? Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.